My favourite Bible passage at the moment is Titus chapter 2. In this chapter, Paul is giving instructions to his friend Titus, who's a young minister, and he's telling Titus there are certain instructions that you need to give to different people in the church. There are things you need to teach the older men, the older women, the younger women, the younger men and slaves. And then in the end of the chapter, Paul says, why? What's the motivation to live like this and to be obedient? For the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-controlled, upright and godly lives in this present age, while we wait for the blessed hope, the glorious appearing of our great God and Saviour Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us to redeem us from all wickedness and to purify for himself a people that are his very own, eager to do what is good. And in those verses, Paul points out three things that God's grace does. First of all, grace saves us in verse 11. And then in verse 12, grace teaches us to say no to ungodliness. And then in verse 13, grace gives us hope. It's a blessed hope, a hope that one day we will see Jesus who has redeemed us. And I heard someone talk about these verses once, and he said, read through those verses and substitute the word grace for Jesus. So then it reads, for Jesus brings us salvation. Jesus teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions. Jesus teaches us to wait for the blessed hope that he will appear. And those verses just thrill me every time I read them, to think that Jesus is at work in my life and there's this blessed hope to look forward to, that one day we'll be with him because he's redeemed us and purified us for himself.